Steve, it's Monday. You're wearing orange. It's dark. We've got a half a tank of gas. Something, cigarettes. Hit it. That's a good reference. Are you proud of me for pulling a Blues
I am
Brother?
good. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's good. Yeah.
Okay. This is our first episode of the week. This is a 2-episode week. We'll get to that in a minute.
And you don't have to pay any more.
Yeah, we are completely free unless you want to buy some stuff. So,
which you should do.
But this is the Soft Summer Says podcast with
Steve.
And this isn't just any episode for multiple reasons. Some of which I think you know, and some of which that I don't even think Steve realizes. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Number one, this is our 2024 season extravaganza kickoff spectacular.
Okay.
That's the technical term for it. I also don't think. Do you realize what today is? Like, it's not today's date, but what today signifies.
Have we been at this X number of years?
We have been at this. We are entering our 5th season, Steve.
Get out of here! That's pretty cool.
I'm very proud of us for sticking with this for 5 years. So
exactly,
congratulations to us. No, thanks to everybody that's listened and been a part of this little journey. We've had a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's cool. No, so, okay. Yes, as mentioned, this is our season spectacular extravaganza kickoff show. I got to figure out the proper wording for that.
I think those are the same words the first time, so that's at least good.
Okay, yeah, I know it, but it may be just a different order, so that's good.
SEKS, boy, we could sell that. Stop it. I derailed it. I didn't. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're fine. It's fine. You're good. All right. 3, 2, 1. Recomposing myself and letting you know that this is this is, like I said, the 2-week episode or two episode week. There we go. And our second episode is with Penn State men's hockey coach Guy Gadowski. Spent a lot of time talking about not really X's and O's stuff, not really necessarily strategy of being Guy Gadowski, the hockey coach, but really media, everything that you enjoy about this podcast, I think you will find from there. What it's like being a Penn State hockey coach in terms of what he's looking for from players, a little bit of NIL discussion, a little bit of some of the bigger games. So take a listen to that when that comes out later this week. We really appreciate Guy for joining. It was a great conversation. Anything you want to tease about that interview, Steve?
No, good listen. Thanks to John Hanna, the sports Stratcom guy from hockey, one of the best I've ever dealt with, and thanks for making that happen.
Yeah, leader in the clubhouse of our SIDs right now. I'm going to say that. They're all great, all of them. We love them all. Okay, so let's talk Penn State football. Well, we're going to take a detour before we talk Penn State football. We are going to talk about some news that came out today. And Steve also apparently has some news that I don't know if he's going to be able to confirm by the time, but it's not as major as this. Well, no, it's always big. All of our news is big. Okay. So this morning, Penn State's Board of Trustees approved a new contract extension for Pat Kraft through June 2032, which sounds like a made-up year. He is effectively going to get a little bit of a raise. It's an 8-year contract worth $2.26 million, and then can get $350 million annually based on specific goals, etc. I think this makes a lot of
$350,000 annually.
Yes, yeah, annually.
More? Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So I think this makes a lot of sense for Penn State right now, where Penn State is at, to let Pat Kraft see through really everything that he's putting together, particularly around the stadium. I think that's big. I don't quite think that takes us to a new TV contract, but I believe it gets us pretty close. So that's going to be a factor in all of this. I think this is about kind of, maybe as James Franklin alluded to today, a little bit of just, it's very nice to have consistency. And I think it seems like what we know about the relationship between James Franklin and Pat Kraft is they're very much are on the same page. And it seems like this is a little bit of like that symbiotic relationship kind of continuing and coming together. And I think that's only gonna, if you're a Penn State fan, enhance that aspect. I'm interested to see other aspects that we probably to a horse, like to a dead horse on this podcast a little bit, but I am interested to see things like ticket prices, fan engagement, things like that, and how those are impacted. But all in all, I think a good, smart move to keep him here through at least effectively the build of the stadium, and then 5 years after the fact.
Yeah, it's stability, it's consistency, it's the things that the college intercollegiate athletics landscape is not right now, right? Like we don't want to have change internally to your program amidst everything else that's going on. So it's the right move. I don't know that I've ever been like, oh, I know it's not that I haven't. I know I haven't been on the. Oh, thank Pat Kraft for fighting the Big Ten about opening on the road. Like I always thought that was hyped, but he has championed the program, brought energy to the program, championed all the sports. I mean, basically pressed all the right buttons. I mean, I think the fighter thing is, like I said, a little overplayed, but his energy matters. He's on the field and cares about the football and the other sports. He doesn't mind being seen. So yeah, it's the right call for the program overall.
Yeah, I think he's making. I've thought more, and maybe it's just because we're doing this podcast now, right? Like, but I've thought more about the athletic director position, maybe more than I ever have in the 30 years I've been a Penn State football fan, and a Penn State sports fan, really. And I think a lot of it is mostly good. Like, and I think some of it is like there's a balance. And I kind of talked about this in the Olympics column that I had written of like, we want this to continue in terms of like that success, and it's great, and that success is awesome. But then there's also going to have to be sacrifices that are made to like support those other sports. And I think that's what the next kind of era of particularly as like this house stuff comes down, like what's that going to look like is maybe what I'm paying attention to next for him.
Yeah, and he has stability himself and job security amidst changes that are going to come, right? Like, what are you going to do with some other sports? Are everybody going to remain elevated? Are you going to not invest as much in some other sport? So he'll be shielded in a sense with this longevity insured against some of those decisions that some people may or may not like. Maybe everything will be roses and rainbows, but that might be surprising if that happened that way too.
Well, and I think the other thing is you've got quite literally like some big decisions to make. I mean, he'll probably have at least one or two renegotiations of Mike Rhodes' contract if that would come up, and then you assuming that James Franklin stays around, like that's part of all of this interestingness, which I think he is. We'll get to that more later, but I think he's going to have a contract extension there to talk about and play out and see how that plays out. If it's a good move. Like I think it is a good move. So I don't know. Just want to kind of talk that through and kind of get through all that. Anything else you want to add there?
Nope. You ready for some football?
I am ready for some football. All right, let me pull it up. Okay. On the season spectacular extravaganza kickoff show, we're gonna do this kind of our traditional format, if you will. We're gonna do sports media stuff, and then we're gonna do our traditional over under. I went back and looked. I think I won by one in terms of our over under bets last year. Okay. So and I tried to switch them up, but some of them are a little similar. Okay. So the first homework assignment for the week was 5 sports media / fan engagement, I think would be the best way to say it, storylines to pay attention to. Stuff that is like off the field aspects of being a Penn State football fan, I think would be the best way to put it. Give me one of your 5.
The wait for the whiteout. Like, it's going to be either, if they're lucky, it's a 12-day window, could be a 6-day window. I think the wait for that. The students are back now. It'll get a little more, maybe it won't get more juice somewhere along, but it's just something different, right? Like in terms of fan experience, it's the unknown of what time that game is. I think people care about that. So that's on my list.
It would be interesting, and it would be hard to kind of pull this together, but I'm sure we could. The number of times the whiteout kickoff has not been known before the start of the season, and I think that's kind of
been a bit.
It's maybe, honestly, maybe since the last November one, which was the Michigan Day whiteout, was the last one. Yeah, I'm interested by that one. Okay, my first one is will we get in-game stats in the stadium with these new ribbon
I
boards?
love that you're just so hopeful. You're going to get them once at the end of quarters.
It's gonna be. I think they're just gonna use it for ads. I think they're gonna
Yes,
use it for ads and like little graphics that say like "we are" and make some noise and stuff like that.
I agree.
Okay, all right.
That's their job.
Yeah, but
Maybe there'll be
I,
one little piece of a board somewhere. Who knows?
okay. Here's what I wonder. Like we're not at this point yet with college football. Maybe we will get there, but we certainly have kind of maybe come and gone on this point in the NFL. Is like NFL fans want all of that stuff when they're at games because they have fantasy teams. Like I just
Oh, good point.
it annoys me when we can't get Big Ten scores during a game.
Is there college fantasy?
There is, but it's not as in depth. Like it's not as widespread. I
So,
think
so the college football video game is basically college football fantasy.
that's
Like,
much bigger. Yeah,
right,
significant.
right. Okay,
Like
okay,
20 times bigger.
okay.
I've played college football or college fantasy football before. Our friend group had it, and then we decided not to do it because it's really hard because so much is changing every week, and
Hmm.
the other thing is like availabilities aren't set until like the last minute, and then you're screwed, etc. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's space that is probably just going to go to ads, but I want to see stuff there.
I'm supportive of your
Thank
hopefulness.
you, thank you. I appreciate that.
Next on my list is the end of meaningful non-conference games, or even interesting non-conference games. This is the West Virginia this year is the last one until Syracuse. They play at Syracuse in 2028. So for the 25, 26, for the next 3 seasons after this, there's not a non-con game unless they end up in some kickoff thing that people are going to care about.
Well, I think that's two reasons. Number one, it's because they're renovating the stadium, and we don't know we're going to lose capacity, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're going to probably be 76,000 next year. We're looking at that. I think the other thing is with this playoff aspect, not even so much like what's the point for your playoff resume when the conferences are so packed now. It's more so why not just hedge your bet on getting a home playoff game
Right. Oh
or
no, that's
you know what I'm
entirely the
saying? And
reason.
I think that's
No,
more so what it is. But yeah,
no,
I
that's
think that's
entirely the reason.
yeah.
It's just a shame. Like, I mean, I guess you don't have intersectional games when you have West Coast teams and East Coast teams in the same conference. So, you know,
So you're
the trade-off is USC is a conference game, and so is UCLA, and so is Oregon, right, and so is Washington. So I guess that's the
well,
trade-off.
and I
But
think until we go through that ecosystem and the other part of the new scheduling matrix is the fact that you don't see the same five like the same what was it no six divisional opponents every year. Like you're going
right,
to see a different rotation of schools come through. I think that's beneficial to fans.
and I think
um,
I think being unrivaled is beneficial to fans. Like I think not having a protected rival. I mean, I know people want to see Ohio State and Michigan, but
i
I'm kind of okay with that.
I don't know. I want to hold on to the Michigan State thing. I think that's
Okay.
where because I think that one is like I think it's fun. Like I think that's the fun of college football that I enjoy. I didn't really quite think about that, but yeah, you're right. Syracuse 2027 is the most interesting because next year is Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. And the next year is
Right.
Marshall at Temple and Buffalo, and then
I mean, I
Syracuse.
think of it in terms of road trips for someplace else, right? Too. I mean, I know that you're going to be able to get the West Coast teams in that swing, but there's just no place to like drive to that's interesting or different,
Right.
right? So that's all.
Okay. All right. Next one. Um, will Big Noon Kickoff replace College Game Day? And I don't think it will, but I feel like there's ground swelling for more support of maybe Big Noon Kickoff. Maybe not within Penn State fans, but college football fans at a whole.
I think the gap will narrow a little bit, and I think it'll just be interesting to see what games people decide to go to. Like, I don't think Fox is never going to go to a game that's not its game to go to.
Right.
But
They can't
game day,
afford to.
right? But game day still, I think, intends to. We'll see if that holds up if Penn State and Ohio State are both undefeated or something like that. I think game day's DNA is we are the college football show, And if they continue to do things other than the SEC, then they will be able, whether viewership validates it or not, journalistically, show-wise, they will prove that's who they are.
Well, and I think there's also the like sports bar factor, right? Of just like that's the default that YouTube or anytime
Right.
you turn the TV on, you're going to go to ESPN on Saturday mornings.
I mean, Herb Street's been with the show for 29 years. I mean,
Right.
it's culture.
Right.
It's what college football TV viewing is.
Right. And I mean, that's even why they sent them to Ireland last weekend. Is it's such an important part of this. Okay. Next one.
Media fan. This is me banging this drum. Pay for play remains silent, and the NIL support remains behind that of other schools. Like Penn State's giving levels remain behind that of other schools. We have university has the largest alumni base, and they're some crazy number of millions of dollars behind Ohio State in giving annually for NIL, according to some reports. I think that'll continue. Like I don't know that the switch is going to flip and people are like, oh my God, yes, we're going to give to NIL at Penn State.
Yeah, I have that one on my list here. That was one of my ones on the list. Something similar to that, and I'm interested by that. And I think that's also kind of going back to the Pat Kraft discussion of like, it's very fascinating. Like, we wonder what the budgetary goals are, not like the financial budgetary goals of, but like what is the pecking order for Penn State budgeting right now? Of okay, we want, or maybe fundraising is a better way to say that. Okay, we need you to give to this stadium that costs $700 million, which is not going to cost $700 million. It's probably going to hit $1 billion when it's all said and done, because that's just how construction works. I have to think NIL is 2, and so is 3. Is 3 Nittany Lion Club period? Is that just driving season tickets, etc.? But I'm interested to see how that grows. I'm interested to see how some of these brands that I do feel like there's been at least some awakening. Like, are we going to see more stuff of Julian Fleming doing an interview or a chat and mentioning Blaze Alexander in it? I think things like that. I'm also surprised, like, the number of like College of Comm kids that are on the roster, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen more podcasts pop up of everybody's trying to become sports media personalities while they're playing the game right now. Like, I think like I'm surprised that I feel like there hasn't been a college player yet that has done that and then transitioned into the NFL yet. I think there's an opportunity sitting there for that. So yeah, NIL and players was on my list as well. Okay. So that takes off one of mine. I've got 2 more left. I think the biggest one that's going to most directly impact Penn State fans, that maybe you don't necessarily notice it, but we've talked about this one. It's first year of Playfly. What does that look like in terms of the radio? What does that look like in terms of the ads that you're going to see in the stadium? What does that look like for the game day experience? I'm interested by that. I feel like we won't have a better, like, I don't even really have a guess on what that's going to like look like or be noticeably different. Maybe quite literally outside of more ads maybe in the stadium. But yeah, I'm interested to see kind of how we after in 2 weeks we rehash that Bowling Green game, like what that's going to look like and how that's going to impact fans.
Okay, I had one on my list that you probably checked on. It just said Beaver Stadium revitalization begins. So like just going in, what you're going to see different to begin with this year, how things may change during the season, that kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of like your ribbon boards and stats, but like not exactly.
I have, yeah. The 5th one I had was just how much will the new stadium amenities improve the game day experience, and I think that's probably the biggest one facing fans. Thing I didn't think about until Audrey posted a picture of it today. What's Nittanyville going to do while they're finishing up this construction outside Gate A?
They'll find a place for them. Maybe they'll find a sponsor. I'm waiting to see the on-field sponsor if they do that, or I've heard they're asking a lot for that, so maybe they're not getting them. So, and then you'll have one. You have one left still.
No, that was my 5. Those were my 5.
So my first one plays in with your second one, and what Playfly is going to do. My understanding is that there may be a streaming component to pre and post game coverage, perhaps hosted by 2 former student athletes. Were they student athletes back then? We called them student athletes. Jason Kabinda and Hack. I'm hearing might have a presence with pregame and postgame, like on radio alone or on streaming alone before the network radio broadcast begins, perhaps an hour sooner than Steve and Jack start up, and then being there postgame too. Maybe after they do their regular postgame stuff.
How early do Steve and Jack start now? I forget.
10:30 for a noon game,
Okay.
90 minutes before kickoff.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
we'd be talking like not we'd be if they announce it this week, and if it happens, I think it will, but I don't know if it'll happen this week. I'm like wouldn't I would it would be like 9:30 for West Virginia streaming online.
It's just
This
early,
special stuff.
but like if you're gonna hang out with people, I would thoroughly enjoy listening to Jason Gabinda and Hack
Yeah, I
for
mean,
a little bit.
Jason's done the NFL boot camp thing already when he
Right.
was a player. Hack's got lots of reps with the state media or whatever it's called now. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes to fruition.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I think that's exciting. I think fans should be excited about that, and I hope they do a nice job with that because it can do well. And I think we talked about this with the state media group and all the players that are kind of involved in that. They hold a lot more power of access and maybe or knowing how to ask certain questions that maybe reporters don't necessarily know how to ask to get a certain answer. Um, and I think that's something that I hope they use responsibly, and I hope they enlighten Penn State fans with because I think that's important. So,
Could be good stuff.
okay. All right. Um, over under, but we're gonna take a quick detour because I have one. There was one thing that I forgot to put on this, but I did ask you. Game you're most excited for?
Oh, that's a good question. UCLA here.
I I think that's about where I'm at. Maybe like Washington. If Washington, I thought Washington was going to be better, would probably be a little more excited. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA's been here before, but that was before my lifetime. USC out there, it's out there. So yeah, UCLA here.
It, I'm excited to see new helmets. I think that's exciting. All right.
True.
The game that has you most anxious.
Ohio State, I guess.
Really? I think because I think that one's obvious. I guess that like I'm mentally prepared for that one.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with this Wisconsin game because it makes me a little. I think maybe more so than any of the teams that Penn State plays this year. I don't know how good they are, and the answer could probably change. I think we did this with Illinois last year, and then that was a
Turned out it wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Snooze
Oh, I mean,
fest.
Luke. Although everybody's got good coach. Luke Fickell's a good coach. Yeah. Still
Yeah.
Ohio State.
Okay, all right. And last one, team MVP. Yeah.
Drew Aller.
Drew Aller.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, I don't know.
He,
If they're gonna be really good, he's got to be better than he was last season. That doesn't make him the most valuable player, I guess.
does he have to be better than he was last season, or do the wide receivers and
I knew that was coming.
offensive
Well,
coordinator?
right, but I guess if you want, the thing I'm most anxious about is the offensive line. Like, it's not a team on the schedule. It
Really?
seems like it's been a decade with is the line going to be good? I mean, I understand they were better last year. It just
Last year they were
don't know.
fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. They were better than they had been in years. That they were always the thing that seemed to be. But no, I won't get a sidetrack. MVP for me,
Okay.
if they're going to be good, is the quarterback.
Okay. All right.
What about you?
I think it's going to be Abdul Carter.
Okay.
And I think he's just different. Like I really think we're going to witness, and I hate to like put this on him, but like I really feel like we're going to witness Micah 2.0. Like I feel like this is the makeup for Micah getting screwed over of the 2020 season. Is what we're going to witness. So okay, those are our initial predictions. Now we will do our over/under section, which it's always good. I came up with some good questions this year.
I'm never unenthused about hearing this
Okay.
stuff.
All right, none of them are that stressful. Only one or two. Okay. First one. Will the stadium renovations be done by the Illinois game? Yes or no? And that's the
The
outside,
new amenities.
Yeah, the outside
Yes.
stuff. Yes, you
Yes.
think so? Because Pat Kraft said
wait.
he's planning on it being done for them.
I'll say yes. I mean, if it doesn't happen to the whiteout, who cares? But I'll say yes. But remember, that means they're not done any time before that, right? So that first 3 games are.
Right. And I think that's
Yeah.
a thing that people aren't like. I'm anxious. Somebody texted me about this today, and I was like, I hadn't thought about that. Like, there's still going to be 95,000 people going to the Bowling Green game and the Kent State game. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a headache getting in if they're not done. So, yes, I'm going to say yes because I think homecoming being later in the day is going to help more people go to that game, too. And I think it's going to be done. All right. Who will get a bigger reaction from the crowd? Aaron Brooks when he's presented on the field, or pommel horse guy.
Pommel horse guy.
Yeah, that one's obvious. That's where I'm at with that one too. I don't know how we measure that one, but we'll measure.
We just know that's true.
Okay. All right. First over under question. How many times does Penn State appear on game day? So either a home or away game. Over under is 0.5.
Oh, they're going to be on 1. Over.
A 1?
Yep.
Do you have a prediction?
Ohio State, right? Like, Let me look here. Yeah. I mean, yes. Ohio State.
As long as Penn State is
because the other game that day,
going.
remember we had the conversation. The other game that day is Michigan, Oregon. It's not as interesting. It'll be Ohio State.
Okay. All right.
Here.
All right. Oh, and he's gonna caveat that with and in-state college prediction. Okay. I don't know. We'll see. All right.
Where would they go on the road? To USC. I guess they could be undefeated at USC.
Although, you know what? They don't really like the West Coast schools. I don't think there's going to be that many West Coast
And that's
schools.
a 9 a.m. game day in LA at a school whose facility isn't on its campus.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know when USC last hosted a game day. I'm sure we can look it up, but that would be off the top of my head.
Maybe Wisconsin. Yeah. Who knows? If Wisconsin is decent and Penn State's decent going into that game, that might be a good one. Okay.
Ohio State.
All right, so this next question, we already the current game, which is Saturday, is not included in this number.
Okay.
How many big noon games? So games on Fox at noon will there be? Over under 2.5.
There will be Ohio State. I don't know what else is going on. I'll just say under. I mean, it could be. I mean, if they're good, there's going to be more. But I don't know what. Looking at Penn State's schedule, you got to have the context of other people's schedule. But I could see Ohio State being a big noon, and I could maybe Wisconsin. Maybe they're back weeks big noon.
I'm going to go with 3. I'm going to take the over, and I think that Wisconsin game just feels like it. The Ohio State game is virtually locked, and I weirdly think. I know they've said that they're not going to play noon games out there, but something tells me this UCLA game is going to be at noon.
I would be surprised with that. I think at Purdue or at Minnesota could be noon, but it's not going to be the big noon game.
No.
Right, so that's why I'm at 2.
Yeah. Josh, Joel, and Glennie and Jenny.
Yes.
Okay. This one's a yes or no. Will my favorite part of every Penn State football game now, home game, be included? Are you ready for the fourth quarter return this year?
Do you want the answer that's going to happen, or the answer I want to have happen?
You want...
Because I don't even like the first one, so there's no way I like the second one.
Okay. Really? You don't like the first one?
No, stop. I would like the first one. We've had this discussion. If it were better placed, if it were right before the team came out. I'm not a fan of, are you ready? And then blah, 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 back and forth. Dead space. It's just dead space. Are you ready? The team comes running out. I'm in for that.
So you're a no for you don't want it to come back. You don't.
Oh God, no! I don't want the fourth quarter one. No.
I just gut tells me it's coming back because it's something that I don't like and that's why. That's the only reason.
Just to hold you down. Just the man keeping you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Will Steve enter the stadium this year? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. He says yes.
Yep.
I'm confident. I'm confident.
At least once, maybe twice.
Ooh, he says at least once. All right. Now this relates to all of our podcasts. How many games will Darian make at the Steve's tailgate? 1.5 is the over/under. I think I made it once last year.
I think I'll take the under because you got a lot going on. You got a good crew.
Okay.
But you should come November 9th for the cook-off, the chili cook-off.
Oh,
game. There you go.
Breaking news. The chili
breaking
cook-off.
News. And if you're listening, you're invited to come taste the chili and vote because it'll all be free. So yes.
Okay. I'm gonna say under as well, just because I think there's gonna be a lot of new.
It's
games.
An investment.
It's
Steve probably needs to make an effort to get the Darians right.
And then
there's 2 ones.
We need a scooter. You know what I mean? We need a scooter. Okay. All right. Now to the important stuff. Wins over new Big Ten opponents 2.5. That's the over/under.
Over.
Over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm also gonna take the over. We asked this question last year. But I think we'll ask it again. Will Penn State have a Heisman Trophy finalist this year?
No.
Uh, no, I'm not that optimistic. Not that optimistic. Will Penn State make it to Indy this year?
Is that where the playoff game, the
The
championship
big
game is?
the Big Ten championship game is.
I'm going to say no.
No. Yeah, I think it's a no. I think it's a no. I think they're solidly maybe the third best team in the Big Ten on paper right now. I think that's where I'm at with it. That's about how I feel with it. I think I can't decide between Ohio State and Oregon. I'm fascinated by all the pressure that's on Ohio State this year.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe check back with me later on. But this is the dogs start barking. I think it's a no for me right now. Okay, the big one. Will Penn State make it to a playoff game?
Yes.
Yes. I am also yes, Steve. I said yes last year. I was wrong, but I feel much more confident in the
You
12
got
team.
better odds this year.
I have much better odds this year. I have much better odds. All right. Over under games in December in Beaver Stadium, 0.5.
I'll take the over.
He's going to take the over.
Well, because they're not going to be one of the 4 best teams in the country, right?
Right. Okay.
Right. So then you're stuck. You're hoping if you say they're going to make the playoffs, they got a better chance. They got a chance. They got to be somewhere between 5 and 12. So you got a 50-50 chance they're at 5 and 8. 5 between 5 and 8. So I'll say yes.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Look at me,
I'm gonna say
Mr.
no.
Optimism again
I'm going to
this
say
year.
no. I'm going to explain why here in a
Wow.
second. I'm going to explain why. All right. The last question. The moment everybody has been waiting for, that they've sat through this podcast to hear.
Sure they
Because
have.
our opinions matter the most. That's exactly why we do this podcast for now, entering 5
Yeah.
seasons. What is Steve's 2024 Penn State football record prediction?
They're going to be 11 and 1.
No. Who are you and what have you done with Steve Sampson?
They don't. Come on. They look at this. They go to West Virginia and beat a team that everybody thinks is going to be trouble. No, UCLA at home. At USC. No, because I didn't do this math, and I need to look. They are whatever the crazy number is against non-top 10 teams. Like they're crazy good. They're good against good teams. There's what top 10 teams are on their schedule? Ohio State,
Right.
right? So there's their one loss, 11 and 1.
Wow, I'm flabbergasted. I did not think you were going to say 11 and 1. I really did not. I'm the negative Nancy. I'm going to say 10
You
and
were
2.
negative last year. I know.
No,
You were negative
I
last
was
year.
11 and 1 last year. I was 11 and 1 last year, I think. I can't move off of 10 and 2, and I will write this and explain this logic deeper later this week. It very much is like, I think I do hear your point about them being very good against non-top 10 teams, maybe even top 15 teams. Like they take care of business when they're supposed to take care of business. Right now, I can write on a piece of paper and list out the 9 games that I feel confident that they are in, 9 to 10 games that I feel confident that they are in. I get anxious about the fact that they have this West Virginia game, and you were hyping them up and before we started talking, but I am mildly anxious about that just because it feels like there's a lot more unknowns. There's also maybe we're just putting too much thought into everything that's happened this offseason there. I think the Wisconsin game, as I mentioned, could be a tricky one because it's a tough place to play. I think the other one that worries me then is Ohio State, obviously. And I point blank that the USC game is going to be difficult because it's an in-season West Coast game. This is really the first time in my lifetime they've gone West Coast in the middle of the season. How are they going to handle that? I think they're going to be prepared because James Franklin is very prepared, but who knows how good USC is right now. So I can't move off of 10 and 2 mainly because of that, and then the fact of they've been 10 and 2 for however many years. Like even when they haven't been 10 and 2, I'm just stuck on that. So,
And I just did the math. The math makes it probably 10 and 2, but under Franklin, taking out the top 10 opponents, take out top 10 opponents, they're 85 and 22.
So they're effectively 85, a little less than 85.
I mean, so there were 20. There were 20 games against top 10 teams. So that's 2 seasons. This is his 10th season. So whatever. But still, there's not. I mean, again, Wisconsin could be good and jump up in the rankings. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm not super concerned
Okay.
about West Virginia in the opener. Like, there's enough talent there.
I'm
They got 13 offensive coaches for 11 position players on offense. They better score some points this year.
That was the most Steve thing you've ever said.
I know.
That was so Steve. I'm surprised. Okay, I'm glad we talked that through. I genuinely, I did not think. I thought Steve was going to say 10-2, and explain what I explained, and that's it. And he didn't, and he said 11-1.
I'm taking Mr. Optimism this time of year all the time.
Have we switched bodies?
No.
Okay.
No, not unless you've got like sore shoulders and everything else.
I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. Okay. Well, that was our season kickoff extravaganza. I do have this week's old guy, young guy. It's not stressful. Don't worry. I forgot to spring it on you. There is news that Oasis is getting back together, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. So I'm very excited about it. They're going to do a tour. The Gallagher brothers have figured it out. I want to know who's Steve's band that like either he wants them to get back together or he like would resurrect from the dead to see in concert.
I would like to see a good Bon Jovi again.
Explain what's a good Bon Jovi, like an
Richie,
80s.
yeah, like no, Richie Sambora is gone. John's voice is shot.
Right.
No, I mean more like right. Like I would like that because I'm big. I mean, I became a music guy. Probably Bon Jovi was the first band that I knew had different people with names that were playing in the band. Like
Okay.
I just wasn't a music guy.
Yeah.
Right. So of course now country music, crazy stuff. But yeah, Bon Jovi like in their heyday, like a good Bon Jovi
Okay.
show again would be on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I think Oasis has pretty much been the one for me. Like I probably them. I mean, I've wanted to see them 10 years now at least. So
There you go.
okay. All right. Well, that's this week's podcast. First podcast of the week. I'm stunned. He said 11-1, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be stunned about it for the rest of the week. Okay. Here's how the rest of the week's gonna work. This episode comes out Tuesday, so we've got that coming out. Depth charts came out yesterday, which is Monday. Phone screen depth charts, and the printable one, I would suggest hot dog then hamburger if you're gonna print it out and fold it. Let's see. So Tuesday podcast. Wednesday will be my season preview, and then we will have our Guy Gadowski episode as well appearing on the podcast. Thursday is going to be the game preview. And some other stuff. I maybe just some other potpourri floating around. And then probably Friday, I think I'm going to put together like a nice little hub to just kind of, this is your everything you need to put together for Penn State football. So you've got the roster, the schedule, like kind of a expansion of everything we've done kind of this month. Also, I put out this weekend a blog post about what the cheapest way to watch Penn State football would be this year. Which it appears to be YouTube TV based on where I live. So that's something to consider. It's not an ad or anything like that. But Steve and I both have YouTube TV and really enjoyed that. So yeah, anything for you this week, Mr.
I'm going to have it with Steve. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I had a couple of things that the media have taught me or told me about in the offseason and what I'm expecting, like storylines from the offseason and how I'm expecting them to play out during the season kind of thing. So
well, clearly you're expecting them to play out fantastic. So
I can't believe I'm this positive either.
Okay. And then and so like that will take place of, but we will also send the newsletter this week. We'll send it probably Friday so that it's in your inbox on Friday. So and then Saturday there's a football game. I'm TBD if I'm going right now. Was just offered to hang out with Mr. Samsel, so I might take him up on that offer. And other than that, but then we will have our traditional kind of recap post there. Then we're off the ground rolling. Other housekeeping this week. The only other thing is we RTs are 20% off this week. Thank you to everybody that's been buying stuff. My stuff is on the way, and I'm quite excited about it. I just didn't know what I wanted this year. I didn't. I did too good of a job. I'm so proud of myself. So, all right. Anything else?
Cool. No, check it all out. It's good stuff.
Okay.
And none of it costs you any more than the first set. The double podcast not costing you anymore.
That's worth.
All the content not costing you
Newsletter,
anymore.
free.
But feel free to buy some stuff.
Buy some stuff. That's the best way to support the blog. All right. Other ways to support the blog: 5 stars, thumbs up, subscribe. Really appreciate all of that. We've got a website. It's called stuffsummersays.com. On that website, there's a section called With
Steve.
Then we've got emails. Mine's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com.
And lastly, we have Twitter handles. Mine's at stuffsummersays.
Mine is at Steve Sampson.
There we go. Look at that. Screwing up the outro on week 1. I'm proud of me. All right. See ya. Bye.